Hello everyone, this is Sentence Diagramming 101, Chapter 1, Parts of Speech, Part G, Conjunctions. Now conjunctions are words that connect parts of a sentence together. If you remember a certain Schoolhouse Rock, it would be conjunction junction, what's your function? Hooking up words and phrases and clauses. So that was the song. But conjunctions come in several flavors. There are coordinating conjunctions. There are subordinating conjunctions. Then there's correlatives, and then there's conjunctive adverbs. So let's jump in here. The ones you're going to find the most are the coordinating conjunctions. These are your fanboys, right? We have a convenient mnemonic device to remember them all. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Fanboys connect ideas together. The only thing you want to remember is that if you have a complete sentence to the left and a complete sentence to the right, you put a comma before the coordinating conjunction, before the fanboy. So, now you don't put a comma between peanut butter and jelly, right? Because jelly is not a complete sentence. There's no subject and verb. It's just one word. Nor here, you've got a complete sentence on either side. Same with but. Or here you don't have one on either side. So that's why there's a comma or not a comma. So things to keep in mind when you're using them. I know we love the and the but let us not forget that there are other options, right? We can use for. For works the same way as because, and it gives your paper a little bit of variety. Readers get tired of reading because. So throw a for in there. Yet is the other one. Bring back the yet. Use it now and again. Nor as well. I know everybody's always or, but nor is a little more formal, a little more fancy, but gives you some variety. Now, moving on, the other kind of conjunction are going to be subordinating. Now, realize these words, right? Coordinating means that they go together and they're on equal footing, right? They're coordinate. Whereas subordinate, just think submarine, right? Goes beneath the water. So sub meaning that one part of the sentence is more or less important than the other part of the sentence. And these are the words that introduce those two different types of sentences and then sort of establish the relationship between the two. So because is a good one, right? You've got thing one because of thing two. So thing one is the main idea. I overslept today because my alarm didn't go off. So you've got, two ideas connected with a subordinating conjunction. And here's a good list. It is by no means comprehensive. There are lots of subordinating conjunctions in English, but these are the ones you're probably going to see more often than not. So, and here's some comma rules, right? If your dependent clause, that is the clause or the part of the sentence, clause is a fancy word for a bunch of words that have a subject and a verb in them. That's all that a clause is. A phrase is when you've got a bunch of words that don't have a subject and a verb. That's all that those two mean. We're going to get into that a little later on, but just to make life easier here. So an independent clause is a sentence with a subject and a verb that can stand on its own. It doesn't leave you hanging. Whereas a dependent clause has a subject and a verb, but an additional word, a subordinating conjunction. That's going to make it incomplete if it's by itself. And a lot of the times those are your because, right? Because my alarm didn't go off in the morning. If you just have that, you're like, what about it, right? It leaves you hanging, so that's why it's dependent on something else. When you have independent clauses at the beginning, you don't put a comma. So because and the comma are in a fight. They don't go near each other, like ever. But if you flip it around and you said, because my alarm didn't go off this morning, I woke up late, then you would have a comma. So if your subordinating conjunction is introducing a clause at the beginning of the sentence, then you'll probably have a comma somewhere in the middle. If it doesn't, if your subordinating conjunction is in the middle, then you will not have a comma. Moving on, we've got correlatives. All right, correlatives generally there's two of them. They correlate. So these are things like from and to, not only, but also, right? They go together. So they do the same thing. They join clauses or phrases or ideas together, and they give you some information. Like if you start with a from to, clearly you're explaining something. You're like from this, extreme to that extreme. And then not only this, but also that, you're, giving another example of something. So those are your correlative conjunctions. And then finally we have conjunctive adverbs. This should sound a little familiar because we kind of covered this already under adverbs because they are adverbs, clearly, in their name, but they're conjunctive adverbs because they join things together. And usually what they join are two independent clauses, two complete sentences, and they get a semicolon before and a comma after. And here's a list of common ones. It's not all of them, but it's most of them. And that is all of the conjunctions.